Welcome to the Success Talk Show, the podcast for ambitious leaders who want to get their best results and create a workplace for their teams to thrive. Each week we share practical advice to help you accelerate your success and grow as an inspiring leader. Now here's your host, Leadership Success Coach, Donna Siriani.
Welcome to another episode of the Success Talk Show. This is Donna Siriani, Leadership Success Coach and founder of Success Compass Academy. In this episode, I'm going to share with you several strategies for planning your time to achieve your highest priorities. Now, the reason I'm going to dive into this topic today is because so often when I speak with my coaching clients, they share with me that they wish they did a better job at this. They'll say things like, I wish I could find the time to devote to my professional growth. I wish I could make more disciplined decisions about where I spend my time. I want to be more organized, or I want to be more calm, make it to the finish line without stress. I want to be more focused on what I'm doing and where I'm going in my career. So if any of that resonates with you, then stay tuned, because I'm going to go through at least 6 strategies that you can use and that you can implement right away. As soon as you get off the podcast, you can start implementing these steps. Now, before I get started, I want to introduce myself. So if you're listening for the first time, I've spent my entire career in technology, started off as a programmer, worked my way up to manage projects, and eventually senior leadership roles in organizations where I was managing teams across the US, Europe, and Asia. Now, my last corporate role as Chief People Officer for a software company, as much as I love championing a fantastic company culture, winning a Best Place to Work award, I was drawn to leave my corporate roles behind to become a full-time coach and consultant. So now, in those new roles, I help leaders in technology accelerate growth, both for themselves, personally and professionally, and for their organizations, while they create a workplace for their teams to thrive. So I'm really passionate about that. So I want to share strategies with you that are going to help you along your path. So let's get started. The first strategy that I would implement above everything else is to set aside 1 hour of time, same day, each week, that you are going to give yourself permission to simply think about your highest priorities and how you're going to spend your time in the coming week. Now, I came across a quote a few years ago that I absolutely love. It's by Dr. Heidi Halvorson. She is a social scientist, I believe, and she wrote that when people engage in the right kind of planning, their success rates go up on average between 200% to 300%. It's pretty impressive, right? And one of the keys to that is knowing ahead of time that you're setting aside time for planning. So this isn't about just reviewing your to-do list and looking at tasks. This is about taking a step back, being more strategic, and thinking through where you're heading, what your highest priorities are, and how you're going to spend your time. Doing it strategically, not as a knee-jerk reaction, not just one task after the other. But you're going to really look at the big picture when you're doing this, and I'm going to share with you how to do that. So first step, 1 hour a week, preferably same day, same time every week. Now what I do is I set aside time on Sunday morning, because ideally if you do it over the weekend, you've had time to get a good night's sleep, hopefully, and you've got a little bit of a distance between you and the workplace. Now, maybe for you it's Saturday, maybe it's Sunday, maybe it's Sunday night. But what I want for you is to, when you start your new work week on Monday morning, for you to hit the ground running and be prepared, have a game plan, and you know what you're going to do and when you're going to do it before the week takes on a life of its own. Now, I've been following this strategy for many years, maybe 12, 13, 14 years. I'm not sure how long. By taking this 1 hour a week, you're really setting the stage for higher productivity, focus, discipline, and knowing where you want to go. Now, of course, there are going to be disruptions, surprises, unplanned activities that pop up in your path. Of course, that's realistic. But to give yourself that time each week to plan is key. Now, the second strategy is to think about the rule of 3. what 3 priorities are your most important for the year or for the quarter, for the month, or for the week. Now, I'll give you an example. I mentioned in my introduction that one of the things that we did at the software company where I was the chief people officer is win a Best Place to Work award. We had that as a goal. It was one of the top goals for me for the year. And we knew that it might take certainly longer than that to accomplish it, but it was one of the top 3 goals. And every month we implemented specific improvements. So every month you would drill down and have some smaller goals that obviously feed into that bigger goal. And over the course of 18 months, we did accomplish that. But of course, we didn't do it all in one step. So maybe one month we might have been focused on rolling out some new training, benefits, policies, compensation, activities, employee activities, and so on. So we were every month chipping away at that bigger goal. So the value in thinking through, if you had to describe your top 3 goals for the year, what would they be? It could be around bringing in new revenue, increasing client satisfaction, introducing new product functionality, whatever it is. But it's really beneficial if your top 3 goals, you could set them for the year, and then every month you're taking steps toward achieving those goals. That's ideal. Now, if you can't do that, and if you certainly can't do that today, then at a minimum, think through what are your top 3 goals for this month. And that will help guide you that if you think through your highest priorities, and if you know for the coming month, your number 1 priority, I'll just use it as an example because I mentioned training. If you're introducing some new training to your organization, and you know that's one of your highest priorities for the month, then as you are encountering distractions, disruptions, new requests, new demands of your time, things that crop up that are urgent, that can't be delayed, whenever you have that free moment in your calendar, in your day, in your schedule, you want to always go back to what are your top 3 goals for the month, because that helps you to clarify where you should be focused your time. Now, years ago, it used to be very common, and I'm dating myself, but years ago, most of us used the Franklin Covey planner. For the most part, most people I knew, when we were using the system, we were planning one day at a time. We're coming up with a plan for tomorrow, and we were prioritizing the tasks on our to-do list. That is not what I am proposing. I'm proposing that you take a more strategic approach by looking from the top down. What are those top 3 goals you want to achieve for the year? Then each month, you're looking at what are those top 3 goals for the month, and you're going to do the same thing for the coming week. Okay, so I'm starting to describe what you're going to do in that 1 hour of strategic planning time each week. Okay, now if you have some challenge of you're not sure what your highest priorities should be, maybe, and I have a client who shared with me that she has dozens of goals for the year, dozens. When I ask her what her goals are, she makes a very, very long list. And it's just not realistic. This is based on neuroscience. It's not realistic for you to tackle with equal enthusiasm and dedication and thoroughness a list that's ridiculously long. So you will be able to focus your effort, be more focused, calm, organized, disciplined when you have a much smaller number. And the rule of 3 is a powerful one. If you want to slip in a number 4, that's okay, but really it's the rule of 3. Now, like I said, if you're having trouble determining what your highest priorities should be, that's really a whole nother conversation. I'm assuming you already know, but if you don't know, think about those drivers. It could be at your company. It's quite clear because at your level of leadership, you've already made commitments to clients, commitment to your executive team. If you're on the executive team, it's commitments to the board of directors or your shareholders, again, to your clients. So hopefully you already know what those highest priorities are. But if these high priorities are really relating to you personally, professionally, in your career, then you get complete decision-making to decide what is most important to you this year. Are you trying to position yourself for advancement, for promotion, a new position? Is there some responsibility that you want to take on at the company? Maybe you're trying to get a board position. Maybe you want to become a public speaker or, take on more responsibility. So whatever those high priorities are for you, you get to decide for the context of these strategies. Okay, so strategy number 2 is think bigger around what your top 3 goals are. Okay, now strategy number 3 is really think through, be honest with yourself on how many hours per week or per month that you are committed to work on these highest priorities. Now, let's just take an example that I have one client in particular who's working on his influencing skills. Now, influencing skills, it can require study, practice, feedback, evaluating how he's doing with, his negotiations, with the outcomes that he's hoping to achieve. In his case, it could be 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week to pay attention to the techniques that he's using, the book that he's reading, an article he's reading, what he's applied, what he hasn't. Maybe an hour a week is enough to pay attention to how is he doing progressing or improving his influencing skills. Okay. Now I'll give you another example. Instead of private coaching, I also have a group coaching program. It's a lower investment, and when clients sign up for that group coaching program, it's self-paced. So it does require a lot of discipline. Basically, it started off as a 6-week program. It's about 12 hours worth of both modules and exercises. And so let's just say it's roughly 24 hours worth of work to go through the program at your own pace. Well, instead of 6 weeks, I give people 6 months to go through the program. Now, some people, they make it their highest priority. They get fantastic results going through the modules, dialing in for our group calls. And the evaluation at the end is they're just thrilled with the impact it's had on them, personally and professionally. They're ecstatic. So they get 6 months to do 24 hours worth of work. Somebody else might have 6 months come and go. They didn't make it a priority. They didn't work on it at all. And at the end of 6 months, they're saying, oh no, I need a few more months. So the difference between the two is the first group was able to set aside that 1 to 2 hours a week. And at 6 months, it's really an hour a week. And with that discipline, they can get all the value that they signed up for. I share that example because there's straightforward math, right? Now for you, it may not be as straightforward, but the point is, what is your level of commitment? So for the people who finish the program and get great results, they're focused, disciplined, and committed. They're eager. They've paid for the program. They want to get the benefit from it. And then they're so happy when they finish and they graduate. They're excited. And then there's the person who, in that moment, they're enthusiastic. And, an analogy could be, you're really committed, enthusiastic when you sign up for that health club membership, right? I'm going to get in shape. I sign up for the monthly program, maybe even sign up for personal training. But then as the weeks go on, you're not showing up at the gym, you're not taking advantage of those private sessions, and that commitment just fades away. So a strategy for planning your time to achieve your highest priority is, we're talking about the rule of 3 and selecting what are they, be honest with yourself and what you're willing to commit to. But this third strategy is, you've got to decide how many hours are you really willing to commit. Because if you say, yeah, I really want to get in shape this year, but you haven't decided, well, how many hours a week? Are you going to put in 1 hour a week, 5 hours a week? Unless you go that extra step and put it in your calendar, it's just wishful thinking, right? And I'm going to tell you, I coach people on this all the time. And so we are all guilty of that optimism of, yeah, I'm really going to do this. And then we don't put any time into it. So how are we going to make progress, right? It's just not going to happen on its own. So calculate the number of hours. And anytime I'm speaking with a coaching client about a new goal, and it's going to take some time and commitment or practice, study, whatever, that's one of my first questions. So how committed are you to this goal on a scale of 1 to 10? Or how many hours a week do you plan on setting aside to achieve this goal? Okay, because we kid ourselves, right, when we don't answer that question. Okay, now the next strategy number 4, this is huge. So everything I've mentioned, of course, is important. But a real game changer is when you're planning your time, plan for the entire week at a time, not just one day. So if you decide to do your strategic planning that 1 hour over the weekend, look at Monday through Friday of the coming week. And what you're doing is you're looking at your calendar and you're looking at where you already have meetings scheduled, time commitments, things already blocked off on your calendar. What you're going to do is you're going to look at your top 3 priorities. Remember the rule of 3. What are your 3 priorities for the year and for the month? And for the coming week, you're going to break it down even further and you're going to designate what are your top 3 goals for the week. Now, the value in doing this is then you can look at your free time, anything you have available on your calendar, and decide where are you going to slot in the activities that relate to those 3 goals. So just kind of going back to that, going to the gym analogy, because it's something we all can relate to. We always say, oh yeah, we're going to go to the gym. But do we really? So let's say you said you're going to go to the gym. It's one of your top 3 priorities to get in shape. And you've said you're going to spend 3 hours a week. So for that top 3 goal, you would look at your calendar and specifically designate the days and times for those 3 hours. When are you going to go? What are you going to do? Put them on your calendar. And you're going to do this for your top 3 goals. So let's say I mentioned the Best Place to Work award I was talking about when I was Chief People Officer, and we rolled out a lot of training and a lot of employee activities and so forth. So if rolling out a new training program is something I'm working on, that's one of my top 3 priorities for the month, well, then I would look at the coming week and say, all right, exactly when on my calendar, in my schedule, am I going to put in that time to work on that goal this week? Slot it in for the week. Remember I said, in the old days, we used to just manage with our daily to-do list, right? A task list of what we're going to do today. That's like a few steps down the road. You need to think about the week that's ahead of you. How are you going to get your top 3 priorities for the week accomplished? Now, once you finish that, you may still leave some blank space in your calendar for things like those last minute requests, some of the little smaller items like responding to email, answering phone calls, following up with colleagues, some of the smaller tasks you could do at the end of the day. But if you want strategies to plan your time to achieve your highest priorities, you absolutely need to take this top-down approach. If you don't, and I'm going to say, many years ago, I was really guilty of managing in the moment, and I would end up staying late to get that work done. So there I am at 7, 8 o'clock at night or later, getting done what I really needed to get done because I didn't plan. I said yes to too many things, didn't plan in advance. But you can really have a much more calm, focused, organized, and less stress when you look at the week. Because what that allows you to do is if somebody comes along and says, oh, I need your help on something. Could you help me with this project? Or could you follow up on this? If you see that it's something that's going to require a significant amount of time, you already know you've planned out your whole week. If, in fact, you really don't have time to work on it, you can say, I'm so sorry, but I am fully committed this week. I wouldn't be able to look at it until next week. Now, obviously, depending on who asked, what it is, how important it is, you're going to make a decision. Is it really something that is important enough to make time for it, make room for it in your schedule? But too often, we default to saying yes, taking on a whole lot more than we actually have time for. And I know because I'm guilty of having done this. But instead, if you've planned out the whole week, you know where those empty spots might be on your calendar, if there's any at all. So if it is important, you could even say, I'm fully booked today, but I have tomorrow afternoon. Is this something that could wait until tomorrow afternoon? We could talk about it then. It allows you to have a more deliberate conversation where you're more in control of your workflow and your priorities. Now, the next strategy is, I'm going to say time blocks is part of planning out the week at a time. One of the things that I noticed in terms of planning your time to achieve your highest priorities, all of the things that fell out, that just never made the cut, they weren't the top things that were administrative, maybe some paperwork, some follow-up that, I didn't really enjoy doing it, but I had to get done, kind of a nuisance, or it just wasn't in the top 3, it was not at the top of my list. That stuff needed a home because I couldn't just let it slide. So I came up with And this was after talking to a time management expert. I started using time blocks, and I put standard times in my calendar for same day every week to take care of those things that, just have to get done. They need a home in my schedule. So I call them time blocks, and it might be things that are administrative I put on Fridays, right? So I want to get all my higher priority stuff done Monday through Thursday. Anything that's paperwork or administrative, I put on Fridays. But for you, you get to decide what those time blocks are. Do you need more time to be creative, innovative, some time to solve problems, whatever it is that you find you don't have enough time for, and you just want to give yourself that little slice of time to make sure it gets covered every week. For example, when you think about having one-on-ones with your team, coaching them, mentoring them, you want to make sure, even though that might not be a project or an initiative, there's some ongoing activities that you always want to make time for. So you can put those time blocks as recurring in your calendar. So let's move on. So the next strategy is that using your plan for the week, the day before or the night before, every day, you're going to decide what is your number one priority for the day. So if today is Monday, then by end of day Monday, right, Monday night or late in the day Monday, you will designate what's that number one thing you have to get done on Tuesday. Now, hopefully, it's the exact same thing that you already have in your weekly plan. Hopefully, you've already thought that through and it hasn't changed. But you're just reminding yourself when you look at now we can get into the to-do list. If you look at what you're actually going to get done, let's say it's going to be Tuesday, maybe there's 10 things you really hope to get done on Tuesday. But what's number one? That's at the top of the list. It's the thing you want to work on before anything else. You don't want to spend your entire day chipping away at things that, it's easy, they're low-hanging fruit. It was just easy to cross those things off the list. You spent a lot of time in email, talking to people, phone calls, but then at the end of the day, did you actually get done that one most important thing? Do it as early in the day as possible, because according to neuroscience, the brain, it's a battery, right? And you're depleting your energy through the day as you do all these other tasks. So you want to start your day with what's the highest priority. Maybe you've got meetings all morning and the very earliest you can work on it is right after lunch. That's okay. As long as you are working on that highest priority before you dig into all these other tasks. That's a strategy to plan your time to achieve your highest priorities. And if you do this every day, then there's this sigh of relief that if, let's say you were going to spend an hour, it's Tuesday morning, you have some meetings, but then the very first hour that's available in your calendar, there's a presentation you need to work on. And let's say you set aside an hour to work on that presentation. You follow through, you do that. That's your number one. And all these other things that are tempting you, trying to catch your attention. As soon as you finish that hour, now you proceed with the rest of your list. And you're doing it with more satisfaction, feeling in control. You've got more discipline, more focus. You feel a little bit more freedom because you're satisfied that something that was so important to you, you've already put a check mark beside it. You already made progress. So now you can relax a little bit that the rest of the day you can proceed with everything else. That strategy is a game changer. I don't know about you, but human nature, I worked in a very operational environment and there were constantly things to distract you from something you were trying to work on. Say you were trying to work on that presentation. You might get 15 interruptions and there's urgent messages coming across your desk, in your inbox. Constant distraction. So to get that focused 1 hour would have been golden, right? To have that. So you've got to manage your environment. How are you going to manage your distractions? Can you go into a conference room? Do you have a private office? What are some solutions for you to get that quiet work time so that you can get that done? And that's the environment that many of us have worked in for years, so we're used to it. But if you want to up your game, strategies to plan your time, these are essential, okay? Now, last but not least, we're going to go back to that strategic planning time, that 1 hour, same day, same time every week. Now that you've gone through the full cycle, let's say you've got your 3 goals for the year, for the month, for the week. when you sit down for that hour, the first thing you're going to do is look at, how did last week go? This is the first step in your strategic planning process. So how did last week go? What worked? What didn't work? What did I try? Where was I successful? Where was I productive? Are there things that were in my top 3 list for last week that still have not gotten done? Maybe didn't end up working on them, or maybe they're just not finished. So that's the first place to look when you're coming up with the plan for next week. What are your next 3 goals for next week? Now, it could be you're chipping away at a larger initiative. So every week you're taking some baby steps on that initiative. But the point is, you want to be very, very specific about what those top 3 goals for the week are. Make sure that those goals are SMART. They're specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. And you're going to go through this. It's an iterative cycle. So in that 1 hour, you start off by looking at, how did last week go? And now, as soon as you finish that review, which may take you just a matter of a few minutes, now the bulk of your time is, what am I going to work on next week? Now, if you're crossing into a new month, you may be looking back at your goals for the year and saying, what's the next big bite I need to take out of this bigger initiative, this bigger set of goals? And what are the next bites for the coming months? So that's it. So as far as the strategic planning process, that 1 hour a week, if you're finding that you complete the monthly goals and you complete your annual goals, you cross the finish line on something unexpectedly, like, oh, I thought it was going to take me all year. It only took me 6 months. Fantastic. Now you go back and say, what's the next big goal you're going to focus on? Now, I went through, again, going back to my last corporate role, we used a dashboard where, as executives, we would every quarter pick our top 3 goals for the quarter. And that gave us the focus. So when you want to plan your time to achieve your highest priorities, if your boss or your executive team, or if you're on the executive team, what you communicate to your teams, if you're trying to manage to dozens of priorities, what's that expression? If everything's number 1 top priority, then nothing is. So you need to be really a role model for the rest of the organization on creating clear, focused, and disciplined goals, which means 3, not 30, right? Because if you have too many goals, people will not know where to turn, what to work on, and you may not get the traction and progress, the accelerated progress that you're looking for. So these strategies, everything I've shared with you on this podcast, have been game changers for me. My number 1 strength is achiever, right? We thought it was going to be 3 to 5 years to be a best place to work. We did it in 18 months. Now, that doesn't really surprise me, because I'm always looking for, if something's supposed to take 2 years, I'll always look at, how do we get it done in a year? That's just part of me wanting to always put my foot on the gas as an achiever. And so I'm sharing with you these strategies that have made a huge difference, not only for me, but for everyone who I've worked with who's implemented them. So anyway, I hope these are helpful for you. If you would like to really take another look at professionally, in terms of your career, where you could be putting your attention as part of your top 3 goals. Let's say, as you listen to this, what you really want to do is carve out time for you personally and professionally, but you're not sure what those top 3 goals should be, then I invite you to take a free 4-minute assessment that I created. You just go to altitudeassessment.com. That's altitudeassessment.com. Altitude as in, climbing a mountain. And it's a 4-minute assessment. As soon as you finish it, you get an email from me with your results and some recommendations on where you could take a closer look so that you could really strengthen your trajectory, your career path, accelerate your success. So I invite you to take that. Some great resources there. Anyway, I thank you for listening and have a great day.